Hey, Ecom Masters, welcome to the show. My name is Mike Weiss, Chief Community Officer at Dropified, and as a thank you for tuning in to the e-commerce mastery show, we've put together a special podcast-only e-commerce training just for you. Now, in it, you're going to learn the ins and outs of how to set up your own brand of products where you can literally put your own labels, brands, logos, and messaging over top of top-selling, in-demand, high-quality, high-profit products that are exclusive to supplements, CBD, skincare, and pet products. And here's the key: no minimum order quantities, no upfront inventory costs. And I'm going to show you how to do this in literally minutes. Now, guys, we refined these principles over the course of 5 years with working with over 100,000 of our own e-compreneur customers just like you. So to get immediate 100% free access, all you got to do is go to dropified.com/podcast-special, or you can just click the link below and you're going to learn exactly how we do this in just minutes. Thank you so much for being part of the Dropified family and enjoy the show. Welcome to e-commerce mastery. My name is Mike Weiss. I'm the Chief Community Officer here at Dropified, and today I am so excited to introduce our guest, Jeff Lerner. And if you do not know Jeff, man, I'm just going to give you, and it sucks because I'm going to ask you for your story, so hopefully I don't trump too much of it here, but Jeff Lerner is an absolute beast, and I'm going to explain a little bit what that means here. So in 2008, Jeff found himself working actually as a piano player like myself, as a jazz artist. And he almost had over $500,000 actually in debt when he discovered the world of online business that so many of our users are in right now. So if it has cost you anything less than $500,000, did I say $500 million? I meant $500,000, just to be 100% clear. $500,000, then you already have a huge leg up on this absolute giant. So, but again, he wants to actually walk through and show you some absolute nuggets that he has developed and learned along the way that he is going to be sharing, some exclusively with this interview. Others, you have to actually jump in and check it out into his program. But fast forward to now, he has about $50 million turnaround story. It's inspired literally millions and millions of people around the world. 2018, after building multiple 8-figure businesses, earning multiple appearances on Inc. 5000s and winning multiple 8-figure awards, he founded Entre Institute, where he has taught over 50,000 students his unique digital retail estate approach to online business, to which he credits his success. He is also a fantastic father of, I believe, 4, correct? And right. He just commits as much time to his family as he does to his entrepreneurial advance. And so, Jeff, I just want to thank you so much for being part of the show today. I am super excited to jump into the secrets we're going to jump into today.
Man, I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful for that intro. I don't know who you were talking about, but he sounds interesting. I'd like to meet him. No, I really appreciate it, man. And I'm 41 years old at this point. I'm just.
No, you're not. Shut up. You're not 41.
I am. I'm 41. I'm basking in, the reality of what you just described, but also I am humbled and energized by the opportunity and I feel the self-appointed responsibility to pay forward and empower and inspire others that what you just described for me, that's my unique version of the possibility, but it's not my unique possibility. It's literally the world is at the fingertips of anyone that'll dive into this world that we inhabit of the digital economy and treat it with the seriousness that it deserves in respect to the opportunity that it holds.
Absolutely. Oh man, I'm so excited. And okay, I just want to before we actually dive in, I just need to make sure anyone that is watching this right now, you need to literally get rid of your distractions. Like you need to shut off your phone, take off your watch. You need to get a piece of paper and a pen and get ready, because there's going to be so much gold. No hype up on you here, Jeff. No pressure either. No. But there's going to be so much gold that comes to us only because I cannot tell you, if you have as many videos as Jeff does that have been viewed literally millions of times, being a host of Millionaire Secrets, and it's just been proven time and time and time again. And the fact that we have Jeff on our show, you seriously need to take every single second of advantage of this opportunity. So please make sure you're doing that. I'm going to give you 3 seconds to do that. 3, 2, 1. Good. Okay. So before we dive in, we're going to break down, and like we do with every episode, what we're going to cover today. So first thing, we're going to hear more of Jeff's story from being a frustrated jazz musician like I was back in the day to a millionaire in an online business. Then we're going to talk about the 3 P's of excellence that he preaches, as well as maybe kind of dive into a few other things that maybe he doesn't share openly on a whole lot of other podcasts, which I'm super excited for, including the #1 secret to acquiring the skills needed in creating an awesome life, which Jeff is also going to walk us through what that means and how that works. Then we're going to wrap it up. We have a couple amazing bonus offers today that I'm super excited to talk to you guys about. Does that sound good, Jeff?
That sounds amazing, man. I will say I do a lot of these, and rarely are they as intentional and well organized as this. So it sounds like a dream, man. I'm just following let's say improvising within a framework. I was going to say following a script, but there's no script, but improvising within a great framework. Like are you actually a former musician? I didn't know that.
I was, yeah, probably not to the degree that you were, but I definitely made my way through high school and college playing Christmas gigs of all things. And so,
oh yeah. Oh, I did a lot of those. I think about that every year this time of year, but no, I feel like you just gave me a great lead sheet with some changes and a tune we're going to follow. And I'm just going to play my riffs within that. So this will be great.
It's your story, man. I'm super excited for you to share it with us. Well, I'll tell you what, just to start out, let's hear about your story. So Jeff, previously frustrated jazz musician, which any musician out there that hasn't made it huge understands really what that means. But I'm super excited to hear about what that experience was, as well as how did you get from there to being a millionaire in an online business? Where did that connection come from? Walk us through that journey.
Well, I mean, what can I say? I'm good at a keyboard, right?
And it has to be a keyboard because pianos are so out of tune if you go to their house and they don't do it properly.
Yeah, well, that's very true. Yeah, and I played a number of house gigs where I was invited in to play their instrument, and they had not properly maintained it, and it was I was cringing the whole time. But anyway, that's another life. But actually, I guess I'll talk about that life. So,
do it.
So yeah, all through my 20s, I was a professional musician, and I became a musician probably maybe differently than a lot of people. A lot of people. Well, I have this, maybe it's an idea, a false idea, but like musicians have this deep longing to be artists and to create and to let their soul express through song or whatever. I wasn't any of that, man. I was 16. I had my first summer job. I lasted 3 weeks. I got fired. I hated working for someone else. It was just a perfect laboratory for me to experience all the things that make having not all jobs suck, but that job sucked. And for me as a 16-year-old, that meant all jobs sucked. Of course. So I'm like, I'm never going to have a job. I can't do jobs. I'm not a job guy. And so fall semester of my junior year of high school, I'm like, why am I even doing this? Like, why am I even in school? Like all this is a preparation to go back and sign up for life to do what I barely could do for 3 weeks this summer, which is work for someone else, clock in, clock out, be told what to wear, be told where to go, be told, I can't say shit without getting a docked or written up or something. And wasn't fired. Yeah. And, they're allowed to have a bad day and dump crap on me. But when I tried to give it back to them, they fired me. So whatever. I just, so I'm like, well, what am I good at? What skill do I at least have a foundation for that I could go into the world with that would give me at least the ability to, have food and shelter, but also control and freedom. Right. And I had played guitar previously, and I knew that like intellectually, I'm a pretty quick study for music. Right. So I was at a boarding school, my fall semester of my junior year, and I got sick. I actually got mono. Oh no. Like the first week I was there. And the reason I was at boarding school is because there's a whole other story. I got kicked out of my high school. I've never been good with authority, but so I ended up having to get into this boarding school at the last minute. It was like the only place my parents could find because they knew that I would self-destruct if they tried to put me in public school, which ended up happening, whatever, whole other story. But then I get up there and I get mono the first week. Jeez, so they're like, So I'm like, too sick. They exempt me from all my classes. So I'm literally living in a dorm for 3 months with no classes. It's kind of like COVID. Like I was the kid with COVID. I wasn't allowed to see anybody. So I ended up going out and like roaming the campus of this boarding school. And I found this old abandoned music building because they had built a new music building and they moved everything out, but they left behind a piano. So there was an abandoned building with a piano. And I'm like, well, this'll at least pass the time. And literally within a week, I swear to you, like God or whatever it was in my underdeveloped, adolescent brain came and it's like, Jeff, you must play piano so you don't have to get a job someday. And I was like, okay.
It's probably the custodian just sitting in the rafters.
I know, right? Yeah, totally. It's like some recording with a button he pushes every time somebody walks in. So anyway, I ended up spending the entire 3 months, like, because I was exempted from all my classes. I literally practiced like 12 hours a day. And I started teaching myself the piano because I'm like, this is a thing I could do if I can get good enough, fast enough. And this is such an important piece of the story because it's exactly where I found myself again, 12 years later, $500,000 in debt, sitting at a keyboard saying, this can be my savior, my salvation, if I can get good enough, fast enough. Only 12 years later, I was at a computer keyboard. Right. Yeah. Now I'm at a piano keyboard. And so I did. I ended up dropping out of high school. After the semester ended, I went home. I told my parents, I'm not doing this anymore. There's no point. I'm meant to be a musician. And I started driving up to the local university, and I would wait until somebody went in, and I would run in behind them before the door closed and locked because I didn't have a key to the practice rooms. And I started practicing piano 8, 10, 12 hours a day. I mean, literally as much as I possibly could. And it took 3 years. And for 3 years, I lived at home, begged my parents weren't super stoked about it, but they were cool enough. At least they fed me.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
And finally, after every semester, I would go audition to get into the music program. And every time they would just laugh at me. They're like, you don't have a teacher. Yeah. You haven't been playing for more than a year or 2. I mean, after 3 years, they were like, well, you've been playing for 3 years. Okay. And finally I got in after 3 years. It took me 6 consecutive auditions, and I was practicing like 10, 12 hours a day. At least realistically, it was at least 6 to 8 hours of actual practice, which is like 10 or 12 hours with, bathroom breaks and food and stuff. So it was my whole day. And, anyway, I finally ended up getting enough traction to become a professional piano player, and it worked. I've never had a job since. And it was so cool though, because by my mid-20s, I had worked my way up. Well, I ended up getting a scholarship to play piano. I was first chair pianist in the University of Houston Jazz Orchestra. So as long as I played in the jazz orchestra, I got all my classes for free. I could go as much or as little as I wanted, and there was no rush. So I actually ended up graduating from college, but it took 10 years. But I never had to pay for it.
Right.
But during that time, I networked with some of my professors, and I got in with some good booking agencies, and I kind of started developing that early entrepreneurial hustle and schmooze factor and networking skills. And I ended up working my way into this echelon that was a very desirable and elite echelon of the Houston music scene, where, out of let's say there were 10,000 pianists in Houston, it's a city of 4 million people. Right. There were probably only about 20 of us that worked in this circle, where we would get booked to play parties in the homes of like billionaires, Fortune 500 CEOs, the elite of Houston, the old money society people, and the galas and the charity balls. And a lot of it was just because I was young and I had a decent fitting suit, and I would shave and I'd show up on time, and I knew how to hold a conversation, but I also knew when to shut up and stop talking. And so I literally ended up playing piano for multiple billionaire entrepreneurs. And I was like around these people, and I would hear their stories, and I'd see the types of organizations they built, and they'd be having a dinner for all of their top executives. And I just became enamored with this world of like the value creation and what it is that you can build just by going all in on your own ideas and your own self-belief. And halfway through my 20s, I was like, that's the reason I became a musician. It's not because I want this, it's because I want that.
Yeah.
But this is limited. That's unlimited. So I got obsessed with becoming an entrepreneur, and I just kept playing music to pay the bills. And I started starting business after business after business. And by the quintessential entrepreneurial hard knock story, right? I failed at literally 10 businesses in a row.
Yeah.
And
right.
the last of them was the big one. It was 2 franchise restaurants that I was able to, because I was a good salesperson, I was able to convince a bank to loan me $300,000 right into the mouth of the Great Recession, 2007. So I end up by 2008, both of those stores are shut down. My name is on $330,000 of bank loans. I have another $165,000 of, back rent or remaining lease payments on 2 leases, taxes, unemployment. I'm getting the state of Texas is calling me for sales taxes. The IRS is calling me for income taxes. The Texas Workforce Commission is calling me for unemployment. The lawyers are calling me for the rent, for the leases. And of course, the US Treasury is calling me because they were federally guaranteed Small Business Administration bank loans. When you default on those, you don't actually default on the bank, you default on the US government.
Yeah.
So I'm effed. Dude, I am effed. 28 years old, I guess 29. 2008, I was 29 years old, $495,000 in debt. Just like, snipers after me in every direction. And I hunkered down. I lost my apartment. I couldn't pay my rent. I'm married at the time. And my wife is like, I'm done with this guy.
Yeah.
And so we ended up moving in with her parents, while at the same time, she's starting to separate from me. So super awkward.
Oh my gosh.
I'm living in their spare bedroom because she's like, you're not living in my bedroom.
Yeah,
like, so I'm living in the spare room with a laptop, a robe and slippers and a dream. Like, that's it, man. For a year, I wake up every day. I put on my robe and my wool slippers. I shaved like maybe once a month. And I just pecked away at my laptop trying to figure out how to save my own life. And meanwhile, downstairs, every time the phone rings, her dad is like, Jeff, it's the US Treasury calling. Yeah. They found you. They want their money. I mean, it was just such a disaster. And can
I pause? Because I feel like there's a turn here, which is great. Yeah. I want to just hold this moment. I don't think it's as painful.
I'm over it. So you
can
hold
I was going to say,
good.
I don't want to be insensitive, but I want to hold this moment for folks that are listening to this right now, because this is the current reality. Maybe not the details are exactly the same, but the current reality is, if I can speak a little more generally to it,
of course,
is that there are so many folks right now that are listening right now that are probably sitting in that situation where they are, let's just say, reminded. So similar to how the phone calls were coming in, and then your father-in-law of someone that wants to not be with you anymore while you're living in their house, living in a robe. And you know what I mean? Like, the thing is, you're constantly reminded of, I would just say it, maybe your perceived failure. And I say perceived because I believe that when we hear the rest of this story, this part needed to happen in order to inspire the part that's coming. And again, I want to hold people here, because if you are in a situation right now, and I'm speaking for myself, I'm not speaking for Jeff, but if you are in this position right now, this is, specifically saying where you are being reminded of a perceived failure. Make sure that you name it that this is a perceived failure right now, that where you are right now does not have to dictate where you end up tomorrow, or where you end up tonight, or where you end up in an hour or a minute or a second from now. You define what dictates where you're going to be. And if you allow that fear, and if you allow that shame, and if you allow that guilt, and you allow that failure, that belief that I am a failure, to continue pressing you into every single moment, it will freeze you in that moment for eternity, until the day that you die, if you allow it to. But what I'm opening up the door to here is, as we enter this next segment, which I can't wait to hear it, is do not allow that voice, do not allow that whisper, do not allow whatever people are defining as failure, shame, guilt, or whatever in your life right now, and trying to keep you in this position, or even your own mind and your own thoughts keeping you in this position. Do not allow it to happen. Give yourself permission to add something in the beginning: perceived. This is perceived failure. This is not something that is going to hold me right now. I'm going to step out of this as I listen to the rest of Jeff's story, because my story may not be the same as Jeff's story right now, but the action that Jeff took can be the exact same action I take from my life, even though the details might be different. I don't know. Do you agree with that,
Oh, yeah.
Jeff? Or am I speaking too much?
No, no. That's so true. In fact, I'm going to share with you. I have this framed on my wall. I don't know if people are listening to this or watching this, but I'm holding up. I'm holding up here for Mike. This is my 2008 tax return.
Yeah.
Which says,
oh my goodness.
What does that say?
Minus 40,535.
Yeah, negative $40,000 and change was my taxable income that year. You know, that was it. That was rock bottom. That was the only snapshot I have. At the time, I wasn't snapping a lot of selfies.
Yeah, of course.
But, you know, if a picture could capture it, that's the closest I had. It was important for me later to memorialize that, because it's exactly what you said. It's literally the best thing that ever happened to me. In fact, I've been telling this story lately, or today. It's come up a couple times. I'll briefly share it, and then I'll get into kind of how I bounce back. But are you familiar with the biosphere? It's
Yes.
that structure they built to, you know, kind of create a controlled version of nature.
Yep.
So when they first built the biosphere, they got everything just right. The pH and the humidity and the temperature and the light and everything, but they couldn't get the trees to grow. They didn't understand why the trees in the biosphere, they just kept dying. And then one guy figured it out and said, well, there's one thing missing. This isn't actually true nature. There's no wind. And they didn't even know. The first lesson of the biosphere was because the biosphere failed, and they figured out trees actually require wind to grow. Yeah. The flex and the sway against the resistance of the wind agitates the cells to growth through adaptive stress response. It's just like us going to the gym.
That's right. Yeah. You need resistance to grow muscle.
You need resistance, man. And that was, you know, 2008, November. That was the fourth week. It was the week of Thanksgiving is when I went online. And that week, that was the strongest winds that ever blew. And I swayed against, and I've been growing ever since. You know, I'll get back into the story. So I went online. I spent 18 months. Well, I spent the next 5 years, but, you know, I would say, I don't know that I'm fully ready to say I mastered it, but I got pretty damn good at affiliate marketing. Yeah. Good enough that in 18 months, I paid off that debt. Wow. So $500,000, I knocked it out in 18 months. 5 years, I personally got brought home, and I had advertising expenses. So this wasn't a net number, but gross commissions in 5 years as an affiliate marketer was about $10 million. And, you know, so I obviously that changed everything for me, but you know, here's how it started. And I think there's a lesson here too. So on day one, I became a member of this like online marketing training platform. It was called Carbon Copy Pro. It was kind of one of the early incubators for a lot of the great marketers you see now. And it was an affiliate marketing education platform, and they had leaderboards. So people that would generate commissions that they would use their training to go apply to these affiliate programs and get commissions, they would submit their commission checks, and the company would publish, like based on reported earnings, who the top earners were. And the top 10 guys all made upwards of $30,000, $40,000 a month. And the top 5 guys were probably like 60K plus.
Yikes.
I remember looking at that, and I didn't know how many members were in the community. I found out later it was about 40,000. But I knew that there were thousands of members, and I knew that they were in 200 countries. So I knew it was a big community. And I remember looking at the leaderboards going, okay, if I can make it into the top 10, I'll probably make it. If I can make it into the top 5, I'll definitely make it. Like I'll be able to pay off my debt faster than the government's going to come try to collect.
That's right.
You know, that was my calculus. So when you're sitting there going, okay, the only way to win for me is to be in the top 5 or 10 out of 40,000 people doing something I've never done before. You have a really hard decision to make about whether or not you're going to go all in and do what apparently that's going to take to say out of the gate, I have to be in the top 1 out of every 4,000 people in this community or else I shouldn't even bother playing the game.
That's right.
That's like if somebody gives you a basketball when you're 5 years old and says, okay, little Johnny, go dribble on the court. But by the way, if you're not going to make the NBA, don't even bother taking a shot.
Yikes.
You got to decide. I had to decide then who I was going to be, or else there was no point, right? And that decision, that changed everything, man. Because here's the thing. Yes, it was a hard, improbable, crazy decision to make. But what was my other option? You know, when you have two choices to make, one of them is insane and the other is death.
Yeah.
You choose the crazy, right?
That's right.
And so I did, and I went all in, and I worked like a freaking bat out of hell. And in 18 months, in 7 months, I cracked the top 5. I was number 3 performer in the program in my 7th full month in the program. Did about $70,000 in commissions in 7 months. In my 7th month, 1 calendar month. And, honestly, I don't know how to explain it. I look back at what I did and I remember thinking like, oh, I could never work like that again. But then sure enough, something else would happen and everything would crumble and I'd have to feel like I was starting over. And you just you build this muscle that you can reaccess when you need to. And, so anyway, I did affiliate marketing for 5 years. Then I started a digital agency and I grew that from me and my assistant calling up plumbers and roofers, on my cell phone to say, hey, can I build you a Google listing or whatever?
Right.
But I just wanted to prove the model.
Right.
And, it started with that. And 6 years later, I sold the agency. We'd serviced over 10,000 small and medium-sized businesses in the US and Canada. We'd been on the Inc. 5000 twice. We did about $30 million in sales in 6 years. I exited the company, sold the book of business to a software company. And at that point I was like, man, between affiliate marketing, my agency, I have a couple small e-com businesses, nothing that would, knock your socks off, but they're my little 6-figure side projects. And I just was like, man, the digital economy is, and I started buying real estate too. It's like, the world is so freaking awesome.
Yeah.
How did I ever think otherwise? and how sad is it that there's still people that think otherwise?
Yeah.
And so since September 2018, when I sold my agency book, I've just been on this mission to spread the good news. And that's when I started Entre Institute. And, gratefully, the world seems receptive to the message. We've had, at this point now, over 60,000 paying students.
Hi there, Ecom Masters. Mike Weiss here again with a friendly reminder that you've unlocked access to our exclusive podcast-only training on how to create your own supplement, CBD, pet, or skincare brand in just minutes, where we're going to break down from A to Z exactly how to put your own design on top selling products and start selling in just minutes. It's incredible. Now, the principles that you're going to learn are exactly the same principles that we've used with our customers who did over $2 billion. That's right, with a B, $2 billion in sales last year alone. You cannot afford not to take me up on this free training. So to get immediate 100% complimentary access, all you got to do is go to Dropified.com/podcast-special, or you can just click the link below in the show notes. I will see you soon. That's unbelievable, man. Well, congratulations on just your success. And the thing is, I'm not talking about the finish line, because to be fair, the finish line isn't even here yet. This is a milestone in your life, right?
I'll let you know.
That's right. Yeah.
You can hear about it at my funeral someday.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and you know what? I mean, actually not even then, man, because your legacy will carry on. Your teachings will carry on. Right. So, and that's so powerful. And I think that's ultimately what everyone wants, is they want to matter. They want what they want is for what they do to matter. And they actually want to be, unearthed, if you will, like unveiled, that what is my true potential? And I need someone to jump in and actually do this with me. Because I'm afraid to do it by myself, because there's so much noise out there, and I'm so scared to reveal that myself to someone. So instead, I'm just going to kind of stay in. I'm going to grab what's around me that's affordable. So that's going to be, the drink, the puff, the bag, the whatever, the Netflix binge, the whatever, because it makes me feel like I can fill my tank with that, but it's not filling my tank. I need to actually break this right now. And it's so hard today to break out of that, because we're kind of forced to stay inside right now. And we're getting fed all these different messages of, this is where you belong. And it's not the message that you preach. It's not what you try to help people do. You try to say, just break out of that shell. And it's time to discover who you are and what you're capable of and what your potential is. And I'm not going to tell you that, but what I am going to do is I'm going to show you how to unlock this so that you can see it as raw and messy and dirty as it is. You can still see it. And then I'm going to show you some tried and tested ways of how you can actually form, develop, and build and grow that into something that can make you money. So you can be like I was as a 16-year-old kid. And I don't care if you're 60 and you're feeling that right now. It does not matter. You do not need to be 16 for this to work. You do not need to be 20. You do not need to be 41 and in the exact position I am. That is not how it works. That's not the skeleton, right? But what I am going to teach you is something called the 3 Ps of excellence. And so why don't we jump into 3 Ps of excellence here? And what is this? How is this different than what other people are told as entrepreneurs or people that want to be entrepreneurs? And how do we adopt these 3 Ps?
Yeah. So the 3 Ps, and frankly, it's not different. Here's the thing. I'm smart enough to play to my strengths, but I'm not like the smartest guy. I'm just smart enough to recognize what my strengths are and try to do more of that and less of the other. So when I recognize good ideas, I go, okay, well, if I'm going to remember that, especially when things get tough and chaotic and fast paced and we read all these things or we watch, we go to a Tony Robbins seminar and it's easy when we're in the room to go, yeah. But then we get home and there's chaos and money problems and fighting and whatever. And we forget, it all goes out the window. So to be able to access things when I'm actually going to need them, they got to be so simple.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I always am making acronyms or mnemonic devices. And people always talk about health, wealth, and relationships, right? Sure. Those are the 3 areas to be happy. Well, I'm not even smart enough to remember that. But physical, personal, and professional, I can remember that. 3 Ps. Okay, 3 Ps. If I'm just focused every day on being excellent in these 3 things, I'm pretty sure my life's going to be good. It's going to stay good. And that's it. It's really just a hack for myself to be like, and then I kind of came up with this model, physical, personal, and professional. They're like concentric circles, and it starts with physical, and everybody's kind of flipping it the other way. Like they think it starts with money. Money's ultimately how the market democratically tells you what it thinks you're worth. So if you want to make more money, don't try to change the opinion of the voting public or the market. Just change the value, right? And that starts internally, and it takes energy to do anything. And energy starts with the body. So physical first, then personal, which are your direct relationships. Because if you can't, people forget what you say, forget what you do. They never forget how you make them feel. And if the market isn't valuing you enough and you're not earning what you want, it's because they don't like the way you're making them feel en masse in the market. But if you can't make your wife feel good, if you can't have a good connection with your kids, if you can't look in the mirror and have a positive exchange with yourself, how the hell are you going to go out and have thousands of happy customers unless you're just faking it and you're a fraud, right?
That's right.
So success starts, first of all, success starts internally, body and mind. Then it's going to extend to home, to community, to family, to friends, to network, to direct impact relationships. And then, and only then, when you've got all those ducks in a row, here's the thing. Do you even deserve to go make a lot of money? Forget about what you want. What do you deserve? Hang on, I'm going to kill the AC.
Go ahead.
Forget about what you want. What do you deserve? If you're not a well-oiled machine who's energized and empowered from the center and expanding out and positively impacting the things that you touch directly, what right do you have to say, I'm just going to reach out even further and try to grab value out of the world and hoard it in for myself because I'm hungry or I'm lonely or I want money or I want a nicer couch?
Yes.
Nobody cares. You got to be worth it. You got to deserve it. The word deserve, meaning the place that you serve from, deserve from service, the place you serve from, right? And so that's just my simple mnemonic device to go through life and not get my priorities out of whack. I get up every day, and the first thing, I get up really early. I do it because it's hard. And if I get up at 3:30 every morning. If I get up and I wake up at 3:30 and I count to 5, and if my feet aren't on the ground by 3:30 and 5 seconds, then I've already lost a battle for the day. I watched Mel Robbins' TED Talk, the 5-second rule, right? You got 5 seconds. But if I win that first battle, that my feet are on the ground in my bedroom by 3:30 and 5 seconds every day, dude, I did a hard thing and I won already. And then I go to the gym and I do physical first, right? It's the center circle, right? It's the center of the rings. And then you just kind of build from there and you get in this habit and you create these, first you create your habits and then your habits create you. And if you just create a habit of every day making a meaningful deposit in the account of your physical life, your personal life, and your professional life. And the goal is just at the end of the day, it's like a bank account. Every day, you just want the balance to be higher than it was in the morning.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. If you woke up in the morning with $1,000, try to end the day with $1,001.
Right.
And only think of all three of those areas of your life as having those accounts. And it gets bigger every day and you'll be fine. That's it. That's it. The 3 P's of excellence are just a dumb guy's way of making his priorities so simple that he won't forget them when life gets hectic.
Totally. No, and I love that. And you know what, talking about when life gets hectic, I think that one thing that I love about what you talk about with Entre is this concept of an awesome life, and it's funny because when I was reading about it, oh yeah, this guy's cool, awesome life. But then I was like, oh no, like he means like there's something bigger. When he talked about awesome life, that's a title. That's not that's not the end of a sentence. Right. So can you just give us a little bit beneath the surface of awesome life? And I don't want to take too much away from Entre because I do want folks who want to continue their journey and actually follow you as part of that journey to be able to experience the full breadth of this thing. But tell us a little bit about awesome life.
Yeah. So when I started this mission, fall 2018, like Entre Institute didn't exist. It was, I think I actually owned the domain because I was like, that's cool. I'd love to, I don't know, grab it or, teach entrepreneurship at some point. But when I started the actual mission that became Entre Institute, it wasn't called Entre Institute. Originally, I came up with this name called School of Awesome. It was just like, which awesome. I still actually love and kind of want to do something with. I bought that domain too. It was like $3,000 for the domain. Like I should do something with it. But I started putting out these videos and I created this little website called schoolofawesome.com. And it was just like Jeff Lerner's awesome life training and wisdom and community. And I had no real plan, but I was on fire, man. I was like, I'm going to help people because I had been through a journey in my 30s, not just making money, but a lot of personal stuff. I did a lot of therapy. I got remarried. My wife, amazing woman. She had 3 kids. She was a widow. So I married her. I adopted the kids. We did a bunch of family therapy to say, hey, we both been divorced. Like, let's not screw this stuff up again because now there's kids involved and the stakes are high. Like, let's do this right. And all that deep personal work, man, I started finding like reservoirs of both meaning and purpose, but also like pain and trauma that I hadn't dealt with for decades. And through it all, I just became so much more whole of a person. And people a lot of times out, you see a lot of guys that get some traction online with like digital marketing and they make $10,000 or $50,000 or $100,000 and they kind of become a pop-up guru and have their little flash, but like they never build anything. They never build a real business or create a real movement or create a lasting, their legacy ends up being that, I once made $100,000 in a year and now I live out my days on a beach in Thailand because the cost of living is cheap and I can, act like a rich guy, even though I only have $70,000 or something.
That's right. Yeah.
I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be that. And it was the soft skills, the qualitative human growth that happened for me through family and through therapy and through healing and through learning about reciprocity and empathy and, responsive listening and all these skills that I was really learning because I wanted to be a better husband and I wanted to be a competent father. They ended up becoming my secret weapons in business, where I was able to create alignment and create mission and build teams and get buy-in from people who would go, I have this job offer over here, but I really like what you're about. I'm going to come work with you for 50 cents on the dollar of what these guys are offering me because I think your heart's in the right place and we can really do something cool. Like when you get your energy right, there's all this economic advantage that unfolds, but you can't be doing it for that reason.
Yeah.
Or else the universe will call your bluff. And it was just this whole journey that unfolded for me through the second half of my 30s that got me to truly where I am now, where it's true. The physical, then the personal, I haven't missed a workout. Literally, I work out 7 days a week. Other than an occasional travel day or something. I haven't just like skipped a workout in 5 years.
Wow.
And the discipline and the consistency of tending to myself physically, tending to my family and my relationships personally, and only then believing that I'm worthy to go give a lot in exchange to get a lot in my business. I haven't met, for 5 years now, it's been a straight run of pretty consistent returns. And that's really what I mean by an awesome life, is when you get those three elements in balance. And over time, there's this thing that happens, and I don't want to get too woo-woo about it, but I call it your success character. You start to become this person.
Yes.
It's so much better than who you were.
Yeah.
And in some cases, it's so much better than who you even thought you could be.
Yes.
But what it actually is, if you're familiar with the Freudian model of personality, there's the id, the ego, and the superego. So we have this superego that's like this idealized superhero version of ourselves. That's kind of our moral exemplar, and our ego is always trying to moderate between the drives of the superego and the base desires of the id.
That's right.
And so the way I look at it is, all I'm doing is I'm training my ego, which is not ego in the way we use it typically. If the ego is the moderator between the base desires and the idealized self, I'm training my ego to actually invite my super ego to kind of step down off of his perch and actually get into the driver's seat of my actual life. Because this person already exists in every one of our minds. But for most of us, it's an idealized self that we create distance from, and we use as a reference point to make ourselves feel bad about where we're at, instead of actually allowing it to take the wheel to get us where we could go.
Oh my gosh. I love that so much. I love that so much. And honestly, I feel like we could just spend another hour, 2 hours just there. I mean, you spend an entire course talking about that.
But, I was gonna say, I spent a lot more than an hour talking about this if you want.
But and it's funny even when you say that too. So guys, like, I want you to know, like when Jeff brings up things like Freud, it's not just Freud that goes after this. Maslow talks about this with self-actualization. And I mean, you go down the list, and this has been rooted in psychology. This is rooted in spirituality, and this is rooted in so many foundationals, rooted in every Asian story that has come up, this point of, I need you to know, not that you are defined by your circumstances. You are not a slave to your circumstance. You are not. You are not a slave to your circumstance. And I feel like that right now, if anyone even just wants to take, like, I don't even care how long it takes, but if you just pause this video right now and you just write it out, you just say, this is where I'm at. This is where I know I can be. And just don't put the time frame on it quite yet, because we're not there yet. But this is where I know I can get to. The simple fact that you can get outside of your situation and identify this is where you want to be. This is a massive thing that people struggle with right now. And I just want to invite people just to even do that simple exercise of, this is where I am right now. This is where I came from. And this is where I know I can end up. And if you cannot look past your situation right now, then I'm going to highly encourage you. And we're going to get into this in just a 1 minute here. But I want to highly encourage you to seriously dive in to programs like Entre that Jeff's going to chat about just in a little bit here. But I do want to help those individuals that have, reached that point where they say, no, I have goals. I am actually an entrepreneur, and I am building out my e-commerce business, or I am building out a way for me to have my own side hustles, like you had said, my 6-figure side hustles. And where I'm struggling with right now is I'm just working like a dog right now. Like, I am just putting the hours in. And I just feel like I'm not getting a whole lot of results. And can I just encourage you, as part of what Jeff is talking about right now, maybe you're focusing so much time on your professional, or maybe you're coming into the entrepreneur's dynamics, or what is it, entrepreneur's dilemma, sorry, where you kind of have bought into this thing where you're saying you got to choose three, of these, four things. And what we're maybe recommending today is maybe take a step back from professional for a second. How is your physical doing? How's your physical body? Are you healthy? Are you strong? Are you awake? Let's tap into the personal after that. How are your relationships doing? Because if you're not healthy in your own skin, if you're not healthy with your friends and family and close personal relationships right now, then really your professional is suffering way more than you think it is.
Yeah.
And maybe you got to take a step back just for a minute and do a quick assessment on the other two. And even if that's what you're getting out of this right now, then again, I would just highly recommend that you take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 days, 10 days, 5 months, 10 months. It doesn't matter how long it takes, but do that assessment before you pursue anything professionally, because I promise you're going to be operating at a fraction of the capacity that you can be operating at if those other two are not healthy. And you can operate like fold, like 100-fold, 10, I was gonna say 10, 1,000-fold, if physical and personal are a lot healthier. And I know that both Jeff and myself can talk from experience. I do want to get to our number one secret here, because I do want to be respectful of your time here, Jeff. Now, we've talked about the 3 P's of excellence. We've heard your amazing story. Now, I want to dive into the secret of acquiring the skills needed to create an awesome life. But before we do that, I do want to share with our audience a couple quick bonus offers just for listening to this episode today, if that's all right. So first and foremost, for any of you that have not heard of Dropified and you want to open up the opportunity to actually get into your own private label supplement, CBD, skincare products, or pet supplements, and you kind of heard about this $1 trillion per year market, but you've just been like, man, it's too expensive, or it takes too long to get into it. Dropified has opened up this amazing platform for you to do that. However, I'm not here to sell you that platform. I want to actually encourage you to jump in, and similar to what Jeff does with Entre Institute, we are actually opening up something called the Golden Goose Challenge, and for just $55. So this isn't a huge investment. This is something very special that we're putting just for our listeners. For $55, you will get access to a 5-day challenge that is live. And we're going to be going through, 3 really key topics here. We're going to help you identify a perfect product that, again, you'll be able to put your own brand onto. And we're going to teach you 6 ways to sell that product without having to spend a dime in upfront inventory costs or in ad spend. It is absolutely incredible. I cannot wait for you to be a part of it right now. So the challenge starts on December 2nd. Right now, our waiting list is open. It will be closed on November 26th, and that's when the cart's going to open and you can go in and register your spot. We're going to be doing a special giveaway just for everyone that registers before November 26th. We are going to be giving away something called our eCom Launch Toolkit. It's 100% for free, and that's going to be including just so many great things. You see the information below, but it's going to include our AdBank Pro, Swipebox Pro, eCom Tool Generator. All the details of what those mean are below. As well, I do want to open up the door for Jeff to explain about what Entre Institute is, how people can get a part of it, and where can they go to continue kind of following underneath your tutelage and learning, taking their journey alongside with you.
Well, yeah, I'm grateful for that. And let me just say, that sounds like a sick offer that you're giving. In fact, I'm going to tell you straight up what was going through my head while you were sharing. I have a son in high school who's a lot like me. He's probably a little better behaved. He hasn't gotten himself kicked out yet, but he's not, his future is not the traditional scholastic, academic and then employment path.
Right.
I'm actually going to have him go through your challenge.
Awesome.
That's what I was thinking while you were saying. It's like, I think it'd be great to have him go through that. Anyway, so killer offer, man. You sold me, and if you can sell me, it must be good. But of course it's free, so it's not hard to sell, right? But anyway, let me answer
$55, just so it's clear. So $55 to take the 5 days, but we are giving that free giveaway on the 26th. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, sorry. I didn't mean to mess it up, but yeah, I would, it sounded great. I will happily pay $55 to put my son through it. But
perfect.
As far as my world, I mean, if somebody just goes to millionairesecrets.com/Mike W, it's a landing page we set up just for this episode. Nod to you, sir. From there, they can, they can get my free digital ebook. It's nice. 20 pages long. It's a quick read. They can subscribe to my YouTube channel. They can listen to my show, subscribe to my podcast, and just get to know me better. And if they like me, maybe they'll want to learn more about Entre. And yeah, we have a whole world waiting for people, but they can sample first.
That's awesome. We're going to put all that information down below as well, so you guys can access that free ebook. Thank you so much, Jeff, for that. All right, I've held people on long enough. Let's get to the number one secret of how you can acquire the skills needed in creating an awesome life. Jeff, over to you.
Okay, so there's another one of the frameworks that we teach in Entre, and I'll be pretty succinct about this. But one of the things I did when I created Entre is I was like, I want to smash the traditional success rates of online education, which I'm sure I don't have to tell you are appallingly terrible.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason they're so terrible is because everybody's so emphasized so focused on just like the knowledge or the course or the train. Here's what I did and here's how to do it. And like, but the difference between people going to school and learning every day in a controlled environment and people sitting at home, self-consuming these videos on their own pace and their own terms, and then being left to their own devices to go implement. It's just that's not how people have been wired from day one. And so, you know, I love that you're doing a challenge. I love that you guys have such a cool community because you're tending to this too. But ultimately, if you look at every really successful person in history, there's always three components. There's obviously you have to have specialized knowledge that allows you to do the thing, but there's always got to be a community component. Success is a social process. It's very difficult to succeed when you're fighting the world around you. And so sometimes that means you have to break up with the world around you and find a new community. And that's one of the greatest powers of the internet, is that you can find a supportive community for almost anything. And then the third is, and this is where it gets very nuanced, but there's a difference between knowledge of what to do. And then I would call, we use the term implementation or strategic implementation. So the knowledge is the same for everyone. Sure. If Mike wants to build a bridge and Jeff wants to build a bridge, there's certain basics of physics and engineering and metallurgy and geology that we all got to know. The knowledge is the same, but implementation is going to be different for Mike than for Jeff, right? Yes. Depends on your experience, your aptitudes, your resources, your time, your energy, your location, your money, all this stuff. And getting as knowledgeable about how to implement within the unique circumstances of your own life as you are about the thing that you're trying to do is a whole other process of learning and a whole other set of information. And at Entre, we really try to do as much with that as we do with the tactical knowledge about the thing. And I think that's really what sets us apart. We call it the 3 legs of successful action. You got to have 3 legs to hold a stool that you can stand on. It's the knowledge about the thing. It's the community to support you in the thing. Yeah. And it's the implementation, the strategy around how to do the thing in the context of your own life.
Wow. Oh, Jeff, I love it so much. It's so good. I really hope that people, I'm going to put the links below. People, you seriously need to read his 20-page book and then just look into Entre, because that one piece, again, everyone can learn. But how can you actually apply that to what my particular, situation is and that strategy? It's amazing. Jeff, I want to thank you so much for being part of the show today. Thank you to everyone who is watching, and please make sure, guys, that you tune in with us on our next episode. Jeff, such a pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
This has been fantastic. Thanks so much. This is the last item on my calendar for the day, and it's been a great note to end on, man. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. See you later. Hello again, Ecom Masters. Mike Weiss here again with a big thank you for sticking with us to the end of this episode. I know how valuable your time is, and I want to congratulate you for setting yourself apart from the pack by investing your attention into this podcast. Now, make sure to maximize this time by taking notes while it's still fresh, listening to the episode multiple times if you need to, and implementing what you have learned right away into your own business. Now, if you're looking for a little bit more training and want to learn the step-by-step methodology that you need to build the e-com business of your dreams, I want you to join me for an exclusive invite-only training that I'm only giving specifically for podcast listeners. Now, in it, we're going to share the secrets of what we've used to scale Dropified into the 2019 5,000 number 55 fastest growing company in America. You will not find this information anywhere else, guaranteed. To get immediate 100% free access, all you got to do is go to dropified.com/podcast-special, or just click the link below and in the show notes, and I will see you on the other side.